Well, you know what this is. This is the Tata Altroz DCA. It debuts Tata Motors' all-new twin-clutch automatic gearbox, and that's exciting because it will eventually find its way to other cars in the range. But in the Altroz DCA, it makes it the most affordable twin-clutch gearbox-equipped car in the country. We are excited to see just how good it is, and it packs quite a bit of tech too. Stick around. With prices between Rs 8.1 to 9.9 lakh, the Altroz DCA is about Rs 40,000 more than the AMT-equipped Maruti Suzuki Baleno or Rs 80,000 less than the CVT-equipped Hyundai i20, while that difference grows to about Rs 1.6 lakh compared to the Hyundai i20 Turbo DCT, though that car also offers more in the way of a sunroof, 6 airbags, electronic stability control and more. Now we're quite familiar with this 1.2-litre Revotron petrol engine. It's got 86 PS and 130 Newton meters of torque. Though importantly, we've only ever driven it with a 5-speed manual gearbox or a 5-speed. Now with this 6-speed DCT, it honestly feels like it's opened up the engine a lot more. It just feels a lot more tractable at a lot more of the time in the city especially. In case you were wondering, the gearbox has been tuned by Tata but has been developed by a Belgian company called Punch Powertrain that puzzlingly specializes in high-efficiency CVTs. This gearbox, the DT2, was designed as a low-cost compact DCT that uses a clever planetary gear system as a sort of mechanical pre-reduction to the existing ratios to reduce the number of moving parts and thus weight. In fact, the whole gearbox only adds about 35 kg to the car. Further, it's a wet clutch type gearbox which can better resist high temperatures and overheating with a self-clean mechanism that uses oil and vibration to keep itself clean. It's all run by an electronic brain that uses machine learning to adapt to your driving style and situation, analyzing inputs up to 100 times a second. All of it sounds quite impressive, on paper at least. Getting to the meat of it, the gearbox. Boy, the shifts on this really seem intuitive, so all the tech that's gone into it definitely seems to have paid off. Often enough, there's a lot that's said in the brochure and on the website that doesn't quite translate into the real-life driving experience, but I'm glad to say that it definitely seems to pay off here in the Altroz DCA. What you'll immediately realize getting away from a standstill is that you don't really need to step on the throttle to move away. The creep mode does work well, but it seems like it's tuned for more bumper-to-bumper traffic because there is just a split second of hesitation before it starts rolling, and even then it rolls quite slowly, so your best bet if you're in traffic that seems to be moving along is to give it a prod of the throttle. The good news is the fueling seems absolutely spot on. We have had complaints of this 1.2-litre engine in the past where it felt like it would surge a little bit, almost like it was running out of fuel at very low revs. That's totally not the case any longer. During regular driving to keep up with city traffic, you'll find the gearbox shifting at around the 2000-2100 RPM mark. That's par for the course, and it's something that I see in its competition, the Hyundai i20 DCT Turbo, all the time. Now, unfortunately, keeping up with traffic and passing traffic are two very different things, and if you want to do that in the Altroz DCA, you will find that you do have to rev it out to about 3,500 to 4,000 RPM, and that's when the engine starts to get a little noisy like we said. But the engine does feel like it's up to the task. It doesn't feel particularly fast revving, but then it's not reluctant to either. And while we would have liked to see this gearbox mated to a more powerful engine, you don't really get the feeling that this drivetrain is underpowered except for when you maybe really put your foot down and want to go flat out, as evidenced in our performance testing. The 0 to 100 kmph time of 16.9 seconds is, well, pretty slow, but the gearbox does allow only relaxed launches at around 2100 RPM. Importantly, the slow flat-out performance isn't fully indicative of this powertrain's pace when driven regularly. Our roll-on performance figures does seem to indicate that the quick shifting nature of the gearbox does come into play and sort of masks the fact that the engine isn't the most powerful out there. Honestly, the gearbox works just so well with the general character of the engine. In fact, this 6-speed makes a big difference compared to the 5-speed manual, just in terms of how torquey the engine feels. Obviously, with more ratios, you have more leeway to play with, and in overtakes where you're trying to get past a slow-moving vehicle, the gearbox has you nice and relaxed, but when you put your foot down, you do get that kick down, even if you do have to press the throttle a little more than you might expect. The Altroz DCA doesn't get paddle shifters to take manual control, but you can do that via the lever itself. And when you do switch over to manual control, the car automatically downshifts a gear or two, which means that it kind of understands that the intent is to pull off an overtake or drive it a little more sporty. That's a touch that's actually quite intelligent, though that does mean that, coupled with the fact that you don't see a gear indicator on the MID, you don't know what gear the automatic has you in at any given speed when you leave it in auto. Now, if you were to take manual control of the gearbox, you will find that downshifts are actually quite quick, though that does put the engine at the noisy end of the rev range. And unfortunately, it doesn't let you hold on to gears with the gearbox shifting up automatically. Elsewhere, there's little to differentiate the Altroz DCA except for the badge on the hatch, while this new opera blue color is added to the range. Inside, the gear lever feels premium, slotting solidly into its positions, while the gearbox mode indicator is the only thing added to the instrumentation, but unfortunately it doesn't signal which gear you're in unless you switch to manual mode. The Altroz DCA, like the rest of the Altroz range at the top, gets 7-inch touchscreen infotainment with a great 8-speaker audio setup by Harman, connected tech, cool glove box, auto wipers, low-line TPMS, express cooling, and more. Honestly, the 6-speed DCA transforms the Altroz petrol driving experience into one that will be a lot easier to live with every day. Now, coupled with the fact that the steering feels perfectly weighted, the brakes offer good modulation, feel and confidence, and the ride quality is typical Tata, which is to say it's very good and very well composed, along with the fact that the handling is not bad at all. The DCA definitely seems to make a hell of a lot of sense as a complete package.